All raced off on this common. We all went and everyone was sprinting. And then about 300 meters later, I looked behind me and no one was there. They'd all slowed up and I was like, oh, okay, I'll just keep going. And I think I won it by over a minute. And I think that was probably the first realization that I had kind of a natural talent for running. I was ecstatic, and to do it in Melbourne was amazing because they did the game so well, and to finish in the MCG with 80,000 people shouting at you is
Wow.
just incredible. I've never experienced anything like it. The ground was shaking. It's great for my mental health, and it's great for making me feel better about myself. I think it helps me to be a more patient mother and wife, and I just think it gives so much to my life, and that I want others to enjoy that as well. And you don't necessarily have to chase times. I mean, lots of people are very motivated by running as fast as they can, and that's absolutely fantastic. But some people just want to be able to enjoy running for getting out in the great outdoors and exploring. Other people just want to be able to be fit enough to chase their own children around or their own grandchildren around. And I think, you can tap into running and make it as challenging as you want to.
Hi, my name is Michelle Lewis. 10 years ago, you'd have been lucky to see me run to the end of the road. These days, running is second nature to me. From marathons to park runs to putting my own running group through their paces. You'll often see me in suitably loud attire, getting ready to pound the pavements. And here's a secret, if I can do it, you can too. There's so many wonderful and inspiring stories in the world of running. And not just running, some of my favourite tales involve those who take to their wheelchairs, bikes or simply their own trusty feet in an attempt to get fitter, faster or just have some fun. In this podcast, I'm going to be in conversation with some of the most inspiring and fascinating of these people. Remember, it's your time, your speed, your way. The only person you need to keep up with is yourself. We've got a very special guest on the Running Tales podcast this week, Commonwealth Games bronze medalist and double Olympian Liz Yelling. A former training partner of Paula Radcliffe, Liz finished 25th at Athens in 2004 and 26th at Beijing in 2008. But her career high came at the 2006 Commonwealth Games when she came third to grab that precious bronze medal. It was an absolute privilege to speak to an elite athlete, and I hope you enjoyed Liz's running tales as much as I did. I started off by asking how she first got into running.
My running journey began because my mum used to run. So she used to run for health and fitness. And I think I was quite an energetic child. And my mum was always trying to exhaust me out by doing various different sports. And I think one day I said, can I come for a run with you? So she took me, I think it was for a 4-mile run near where I lived in Bedfordshire around Flitwick. And I can remember thinking, I got hot. It was a very hot day, and I remember getting halfway around it thinking, oh, I'm really hot, Mum. Yeah, I just want to stop. And it wasn't necessarily a pleasurable experience. I got home absolutely exhausted. And then, so I always remember, my mum take me out for a run. And it wasn't until I went to middle school, I think it's year 5 now, and I went to middle school and we did cross country in the winter. And we all stood on the start line, and I was really excited about it. We all raced off on this common. We all went and everyone was sprinting. And then about 300 meters later, I looked behind me and no one was there. They'd all slowed up and I was like, oh, okay, I'll just keep going. And I think I won it by over a minute. And I think that was probably the first realization that I had kind of a natural talent for running.
So did you have like an after school club that you could carry on this passion, or was it a case of with the same age? And I when I was at school, it was a case of you had to wait till the counties was on or there was school competitions. There wasn't really that much, unless in the summer, of races. Was that the same at the school that you went to?
I think my mum had a friend whose daughter went to the local running club in Bedford, and they offered to take me down there to see if I would enjoy it. And so they took me one week and I loved it. And then they continued to take me until for quite a number of years. And I absolutely adored it. And I met like-minded girls. The social side was just as good as the running. And we entered competitions kind of in that guise. And yes, my school entered me into school competitions, but I think my experience that winter of my first ever cross country for the school, I think it was like the county school championships or something. We all went on a bus, and I think it was a blizzard. And we arrived at Bedford Park, and I was in like little tiny running shorts and a little top with a duffel coat over the top,
Yes.
and I was freezing. And then my teacher was trying to pin a number on me in the middle of this field, and she sent me off into this blizzard and goes, "There's the start over there." So I was running across the field, and the gun went, and I was like 100 meters from the start, and these kids just disappeared into a blizzard. And I just stood in the middle of this field crying.
Oh, so
Because
you
I
didn't
missed,
start it?
no, I missed the start. And then I just had to wait in a bush on, trying to shield from the snow in my duffel coat, freezing.
So
So
you
that was,
went and didn't even run?
no,
Oh no, so
yeah.
disheartened. What happened then after that?
I think things could have only got better. I had much better experiences the next time. And I went to, other school competitions where I met my fellow club mates because they were all in different schools. We ended up racing each other at those events. And I don't think I won any for a while, but I was always mixing it up with the top 3 or 4. So
How did the journey start then getting to the next level?
So I think it was just a real gradual phase. So I'd do like the national champs, and I think as an under, how old was I? We couldn't run the nationals as an under 11, so I must have been an under 13. I think I came 5th in the national championships, and then we kept progressing. So I was always mixing it in the top few. And then when I was 14, there was a chance that the English schools, that if we finished in the top 6, we'd get an international vest.
Yeah.
So I went through running the schools events. I qualified for Bedfordshire, where I lived at the time, and we ran the championships, the English schools championships, and I scraped in 6th position and was awarded my first England vest, where we had a home international at
Oh,
Barry
wow.
Island against Scotland, Wales and Ireland. And that was my kind of very first experience of international running.
But when
And
you
then
got that top, what was that feeling when you got that England top and thought, "Oh wow, I'm going to run for my country"?
it was incredible. Like, it was just, I don't know, it was a real honour. And I remember being so excited, like just visiting a place with a team and being part of that and being able to share that journey,
Yeah.
and meet other runners from, who are just as good as, I am, but in their own country. And just to experience that whole staying overnight and preparing for an event like that was a real steep learning curve, and a really valuable one to take forward as well. And it gave me so much more confidence in my ability. I think the problem is, when you're a child, you don't always realise that you're good at something, and it's nice to have those little moments that go, actually, I'm all right at this. So it forces or encourages you to maybe put a little bit more effort into the training and preparation, or look at what other girls are doing and to be good.
Who was your huge support? Obviously your mum, because she was a runner herself. She must be thinking, wow, this, I just took her out one day and now all of a sudden got an England vest and there's something happening here.
Well, my mum, I didn't live with my mum after the age of 11 because my parents divorced. So my mum moved to Cornwall, and I lived with my dad. So we're a single parent family, and he worked 6 days a week. Practically brought myself up, really. And my coach, Alex Stanton, used to come and pick me up and take me to the running club, or I'd run a mile. He'd drive out of his way to collect me and take me to the running club 4 days a week, so Monday to Thursday. He'd do that every single night, and then he would drop me home every night. And if he hadn't have done that, I mean, I wouldn't have been able to get to the running club, because my dad was still at work.
Yes.
And there's no way I would have made, being an international athlete, let alone go to any Olympics. So, my coach was more than just a running coach. He was had a significant impact on my childhood. He was, a real support in encouraging me, not just as a runner, but as a person as well.
Obviously, going through a divorce as a child, mentally, do you think running helped save you in some ways, get through and make you stronger? Or do you think you was naturally strong anyway?
No, I think it definitely hardened me to certain things. And I think I definitely used running to kind of numb some of the pain that I was feeling, because I was upset that my parents split up. And so I think I definitely used running in a positive way. And if I didn't have running, I think it could have been smoking with all the other girls, or going down the wrong path. So I definitely think running kept me on the straight and narrow. Thankfully, I chose running because I had some really sound friends, and Alec was a very good kind of father figure, and his wife Rosemary in my life. They looked after us all the running girls, as if we were their own.
You had another family. That was your family. We was going back on track. So with the running journey, you got the England vest. What was the next after all the national school? When did it start getting to the bigger stage?
So I think, it was about choosing a career. And, I think I was really keen to become an interior designer when I was 18. And my careers advisor put me off. And he was like, "Oh, what do you enjoy doing?" I was like, "Well, I enjoy PE, I enjoy art." And he was like, "Why don't you become a teacher?" And so he was like, "You get long holidays." And I was like, well, the hours would fit with training. And so I chose a career, went to university, and chose a career in teaching. Running was always the priority. So it was like, how can I do this running? And then I need to pay the bills. So I worked as minimally as I can. So I think I got part-time jobs, like 3 days a week. And the rest of the time I was training. And I was like, I just need enough to pay the rent and do what I love doing. And that's what I did. And I've met Martin when I was at university, so we were sharing that journey together. He was my husband now. He was training as well, and he actually ended up becoming a professional Ironman triathlete. So we were both kind of going on this sporting journey together, whilst trying to cobble together a buck here and there.
So was you competitive from then on? Is that what drew you two together, that you had this passion for this sport?
I think so. I think I met him at university, and I think he was like, well, I need to keep up or
exactly.
do something. So we can't beat him, join him.
Well, exactly, because you didn't just have Martin, you had his sister as well in the family. So that, you had that, I suppose,
Martin's
less
sister.
worry of trying to, you had something to talk about, that was for sure. But you had all had the same passion, and you're all highly competitive. That must have. Did you feed off each other?
I think so. Yeah, I think it was much more motivating to get out the door training if you knew your partner was as well. And that's just the lifestyle we lived. We were, go away training, and at the time it was fantastic because we didn't have any dependents and any responsibility. We just went away and did what we wanted to do in order to become better athletes and pursue that as much as we could. And I think the biggest move came in 2001 when we moved to Loughborough, and my husband got a postdoctorate position there. And I was like, that's brilliant, because that's where
Sebco and all the famous
and the kind of Institute of Sport was there for endurance as well. So I was like, fantastic. So when I got there, I got some lottery funding because I finished top 10, I think it's top 20 in the World Championship. So I managed to get on the funding train, and I got access to loads of great facilities and massage and physio. And I think that was when I was able to make a real difference in my running, because I could pursue it full time. I gave up teaching. I think I got £8,000 a year from lottery, which isn't a lot, but
not really,
enough.
I was going to say.
But it was enough to cover my bills.
I was thinking
other
in your
ways.
case, cover your trainers, the amount that you'll go through with all the running.
Yeah. I mean, I was very fortunate because I had a sponsor in Adidas who gave me my shoes and my clothing. And Martin and I were thinking, well, this isn't enough to live on, so we have to be more creative. So I started writing for Runner's World magazine, and I think I was writing a column called The Road to Athens, and I hadn't any idea whether I'd qualify for the Athens Olympics at the time, but I was writing about my journey and what that would look like. And that opened doors because I'm writing in magazines, so then I got other endorsements. So I was trying to be a bit canny around what can I do to make a living in the sport, whilst allowing me to be a full-time athlete as well. And I have Martin to thank for that, because I wasn't very good at selling myself, but he was much better at doing that for me.
You always
Creative.
find that everyone's like that, no good at selling themselves. So when you're saying with the Athens, that was your first Olympics. When did it start kicking in? This was a reality. I could be an Olympian.
Well, I think it was in 2003, and I'd kind of got in this cycle of the track season and the cross-country season, and the track wasn't doing it for me. I did the 10,000 at the Commonwealth Games in 2002. I finished 4th, but it was just hurt. 10,000 meters just really hurt, and I got so nervous about the event, and I just didn't enjoy it at all. And then I've got an injury doing cross country in the winter of 2003, and on that same day my nan died as well, and I'd won this cross country event but pulled my Achilles and had to take, I think, 4 weeks off, and it made me reassess everything. And I was like, well, my cross country season's gone, the beginning of the track season's gone, so what am I going to focus on? And I was like, now is the time to do a marathon. It's the Olympic year next year, and it forced me to change my pattern of behaviour, because I'd just got stuck in this kind of cycle of track, cross country.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to do a marathon. So I set my sights on doing Berlin in September 2003. And I looked at the qualifying times, and I was absolutely certain that it was within reach. And I was like, well, this is a possibility. And
oh, wow.
I don't know why there's been a few times in my life I've had this feeling of absolute certainty. And one was in English schools where I was the underdog. I think I'd finished second the 2 previous years to Gina Mitchell. And
you remember the name.
Yeah, and we were on the start line, and everyone thought Gina would win it again, and we were back and forth through the whole race, and I managed to overtake her with 50 meters to go, and
that was it.
That race, I knew I was going to win it. And it was weird, because I was like, how do I know, how can you say you know that? But this was another time I stood on the start line of Berlin, and I just thought, this is mine. The qualifying time for Athens is mine. And I had absolutely no doubt I'd get it. And I did around 2:30:58, which was, the qualifying time was 2:34 at the time. Bagged my Olympic qualifying time, and then it was kind of a waiting game to see how many other people would run faster than me. And thankfully only one other, which was Paula Radcliffe, of course, was able to run faster. So so 2003 was a real realization that actually this is something that I'm very capable of doing.
Knowing then, like when it was confirmed you was going to be in the Olympics, like what was going through your head? Like I can only picture, like, because I only managed on the 2012 to get a ticket for the Paralympics. I couldn't even get a ticket for the main Olympics, and just being in the crowd, the atmosphere, for you being at a start line, being part of it, training up for it. Oh, please share the excitement.
The only thing I can match up to since is I've become an interior designer since, and it's kind of the final day where you're pulling everything together before the client gets back to see it the big reveal, and that's the only thing I can kind of attribute it to. But no, it's very buzzy, very exciting. You're so motivated to train, and I think the pressure is off because you've qualified, and actually you can really enjoy and wallow in the journey. So for me, I was, and receiving all the kit that you get, it was just like Christmas. Like you go and choose all your kit, and you'd get loads of gifts from the sponsors of the British team. So like Panasonic would give you like a video camera, and we got all these different freebies, and it just felt really amazing, and you felt really special. And we'd go to loads of photo shoots and for the team GB, and yeah, it was incredible. But the whole experience of going to the training camp in Cyprus with the team and preparing in hot weather, and the staff were there to really serve you and make sure you had everything you needed. And I've never experienced anything like that before. And also to share the journey with so many amazing athletes. I think I had the pleasure of sharing an apartment with Kelly Holmes. She was someone I really looked up to, and it was a real magical experience to be able to see how she prepared. And she won the double gold there as well. So
Yes.
it
And you
was
was in the same room. You were
incredible.
sharing the same room with her. Oh wow, that
Yeah,
must have been a
yeah,
party that night.
yeah. It was incredible. And I think the whole Olympic experience, you're there as the best in what you do in your country, along with everyone else from around the world who's the best at what they do. So it's a real surreal bubble, and everyone's buzzing and looking forward to their event. And Athens did an incredible job. The whole city was alive. There was such an amazing feeling, and to be able to run on the original route from marathon to Athens was incredible as well, where the marathon originated from, and to finish in
I was
the
going to say, it's
historic
called Marathon, isn't it? The place where you
yeah,
started was called Marathon.
yeah, it was. I mean, it was scorching. It was my second ever marathon. I think the start line, it was 40 degrees at 6 p.m. in the evening. So yeah, it was hot.
But being Athens, being honest, it's quite a polluted city, and doing the marathon, running around the city, even at 6 o'clock at night. Did you feel it? Do you feel that affected your performance? Not so much the heat, but the pollution.
I didn't really notice the pollution. I think because the Olympics were in town, a lot of the traffic had been reduced, and particularly when we were running, all the roads were closed. So I didn't notice the pollution as such. I think we were so concerned about the heat that was the main thing that would hinder us. It wasn't anything that we really considered at the time, and I didn't really notice it either. I think because we were in marathon, it's not as polluted, so it's only the
Okay.
final stretch when you get into Athens that it was would have been a concern. But I think it was late in the evening by the time we came in, 8:30. Not that late, but
Well, for you, so what? Then you done Athens, and what was it like? As soon as you finished Athens, was you still in that buzz?
yeah, I mean, I had a solid race. I didn't run it. Anything. I said I went to Athens and I experienced it and I learned a lot, and I came away wanting more. So I think I finished 25th. I was first Brit home, but I didn't feel I felt like I could give more. So I set my sights on the 2006 Commonwealth Games, because I'd watched Kelly Holmes get the double gold and stand on the podium, and I was like, wow, I really want a piece of that. It just looks so incredible. And so I set my sights on wanting to win a medal at the Commonwealth Games in Melbourne, Australia, 2 years later, and that's what I focused on. But 2005, I went a bit crazy after Athens. I thought I'm going to train harder than I've ever trained before. And I basically overtrained and had to have 3 months on the sidelines in 2005 from overtraining and chronic fatigue. 2005 wasn't a great year because when you're tired, you can't even cross train. So I could barely, move up. My whole body ached day to day from doing no exercise. So yeah, it was 3 months until I got over that, and then I had to kind of gradually phase my training. So I think I started back training in August, the summer before the Commonwealth Games, which were in March the following year. And I had to send a begging letter to the selection committee, asking them to select me.
Oh, is
Saying
that
that
how
I
it
could.
works? Is that?
Yeah, well,
That's
not normally.
no,
Normally
yeah.
you do a trial event, but I was not well enough to run the trial, so they based it on my previous experiences and selected me based on that, thankfully. And then I promised them I'd bring them back a medal.
Which you did. And what's it
Yeah.
like standing on that podium and seeing the flag go up? You must have had tears.
Yeah, I was ecstatic, and to do it in Melbourne was amazing because they did the game so well, and to finish in the MCG with 80,000 people shouting at you
Oh,
is
wow.
just incredible. I've never experienced anything like it. The ground was shaking, you know. I think I saw Martin at the end and I tried to speak to him. I was like, I just can't hear you.
Wow.
So yeah, it was very magical, and you know, you work so hard all those years, and I won lots of team medals, but it was really lovely to win an individual medal. So I kind of attribute that to kind of my effort throughout my entire running career goes into that medal.
And then
Um,
Beijing happened.
yeah,
You
I
know, you
bounced
weren't
off.
happy with one. You actually did get into another Olympics and a marathon as well.
Yeah.
You was on a roll.
Yeah, and I was so determined to make those Olympics. So I'd learnt so much in the previous years, and I knew I had more to give. So I was really excited about preparing, and I wasn't as naive or as ignorant about, you know, going into Athens. I was just like a starry-eyed athlete going, oh.
As long as you wasn't a diva, that's all right.
No way. So yeah, I was like, I'm going to go to Beijing and I want to do something. And you know, I qualified for Beijing by the skin of my teeth. There were quite a few competitive Brits going into the Beijing qualification, and I had to run the trials at London the spring before it, and I knew I'd have to run a PB to qualify. And I remember at 19 miles, there's this roundabout where you come off the third exit, and I remember looking across the roundabout and seeing Hayley Hayning from Scotland just behind me, and I was like, right. And I think I had to have a word with myself, and I said, well, if she's going to beat me, she's going to have to work for it. And I just put the hammer down, and I did not look back until I got to the finish. So 7 miles of just gritting my teeth and holding on, and thankfully I was only 45 seconds in front of her, which is nothing really over the marathon distance, but I managed to secure first Brit and get my place for Beijing because Paula had already been pre-selected. So
but do you think it was very fair that you entered the Bath and Reading half marathons, you know, before Beijing, considering you was on a roll and training and then building up your strength to suddenly your name's still down as 1 hour 9 minutes for a half marathon? You know, most people that do a 10K will try and get under that, you know, and you do a half marathon in 1 hour 9. That must have been a good year.
I know. Well,
or 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, 2007, 2008 and 2006 were great years for me in terms of my running career. And I'd learnt a lot from 2005, where I'd overtrained and I'd spoken to a physiologist about my training regime, and I was doing too much of it too hard. And so I learnt to train and have hard days, easy days. I learnt the importance of recovery and rest in a training program. And I also learnt the importance of doing what works for me, not trying to emulate what other people are doing. So, you know, doing a training program that really works for me. And I talked to lots of different coaches. So 2005 was the basis. So sometimes as an athlete, you get really down when you get injured or ill. And actually, it can be a really positive experience if you use that to work out, why is that happening to me? And actually, by doing that, it gave me the best years in my running career. And so as a result of that, you know, the bronze at the Commonwealth Games, I was able to run my fastest marathon time in 2008, qualifying for the Olympics. I think I ran 2:28. And then obviously a lot of my preparation, I used to race half marathons going into a marathon. So yeah, I have the record at Bath in 69 minutes. But, you know, I was averaging 5:15 miling for that half marathon. And I can't even imagine doing that now.
I was going to say, we'll talk about London being your last one, and then I want to find out, I'm cautious of the time, that, you know, London Marathon 2012. I love watching London Marathon on telly, and I remember watching it and you coming through and like the finishing. Like, I've never done the London, I've never been lucky enough. I do marathons, but I've never been able to get into London. And I always watch the athletes, you know, coming down to the finish. What was that like for you? Because that was your last, wasn't it? Your last professional marathon?
It was my last race, because after I finished Beijing, I had a daughter, Ruby, in 2009. And then because the Olympics were in London, I was like, I cannot not try for it. So I continued to train after having had my daughter. And I did actually get myself in really good shape, but I neglected my core stability quite a lot and managed to put my back out in 2009, the back end of 2009, in Bristol Half Marathon. It's caused me, I'm still suffering from nerve damage down my leg, which means I have a numb leg and I struggle to lift it up. So I had loads of treatment on it, trying to prepare for the trials at the London Marathon in 2012. And I had several attempts at running marathons, and it just wasn't happening. And I knew, I stood on the start line of the trial race at London in 2012, and I said, well, if I'm having a good day, I'm fit enough, I might qualify. But if I'm having a bad day, this is my last marathon. So I knew, it was very clear in my head, and I knew that if I wasn't going to qualify for the Olympics, I would retire on that day. And if I qualified for the Olympics, then I would retire after the Olympics. And so it was kind of very black and white what would happen. And then at mile 6 at London, my legs started playing up and my pace dropped. And I just knew, I was just like, but you know what? This is it. Enjoy it. Run round. Enjoy the marathon. Don't, because I could have run round.
You had the support, and us screaming at you at the TV, and, it's...
Yeah, I didn't think everyone would understand what I was doing, but it was like everyone just got it, and everyone was very supportive, and everyone was clapping and cheering me. And it was actually a really incredible way to say goodbye to the sport. And I'm really thankful to everyone for that. And I couldn't have made a better exit if I had planned it, really. And I think the BBC had made a tribute to me running down the mall and said, this is it for Liz, and it was lovely. I mean, I did have a lump in my throat running the whole way down the mall, because I knew it was my last marathon. And even thinking back to it, it makes me quite emotional. But it was a very magical day and a nice way to say goodbye to the sport. And my dad always said to me, you don't choose when you leave the sport, your body chooses for you. And I have been very fortunate to have trained very hard and had a very long career. So I didn't retire until I was 34 or 36 even. But I want to run for the rest of my life, and so to keep training at such a high intensity just wouldn't be good for my body. And I'm fortunate I can still run, albeit with 2 numb legs, but there's nothing sinister going on there. It's just years of running.
What's your distance now? So obviously you're not doing marathons because you can't.
I don't really race anymore. I used to do a few trail races, and but I do 6 miles most days just to tick over and keep fit. And occasionally I'll go and do a hill session because I want a big blowout. But really I'm running for fitness, and I want to do stuff later on in my life. So I want to go on adventures. I want to put a backpack on, and I want to go and explore the mountain with Martin, and I want to bivvy out in the shepherd huts, and I just want to go and explore. So I want to be able to use my body to explore the world once my children have grown up. So that's kind of how I want to use my running in the future. But I don't see the point in racing like on the road anymore, because I'm just going to be much slower, and it hurts so much more than it used to.
But you obviously, you and Martin both, you've got your own Yelling Foundation, and you do give back. And I'm very much about diversity myself. I'm part of Northampton Park Run, and I try and encourage diversity, wheelchairs, visually impaired, deaf. And I was interested reading about you with Richard's the double amputee, and so is that something, when you gave up, you thought, you and Martin decided, okay, let's help others?
Well, we both love coaching and helping others, and I was very fortunate in 2004 to meet Richard Whitehead, who you probably recognise now as the the Paralympian who won the 200 metres T42 category. So he's a double leg amputee, and so I've worked with Richard for a number of years, and we're still good friends now. So, I was very lucky to kind of our paths were crossed, and we were able to work together. And I really enjoy coaching other athletes now, and teaching them to learn about what works best for them and how they can best structure their training to get the most from their own running. And I adore that. And one day I might end up down the local athletics club doing some coaching when my children have grown up. But I know what a huge commitment that is, and I'm not ready for that quite yet. And then my husband Martin is trying to set up a charity called Stormbreak, which is a children's mental health charity. At the moment, so we're trying to focus on things that aren't about us anymore and are more about other people, and trying to do some good in the world in some kind of guise. So yeah, if we can help people in that way, that'd be great. But we have a coaching business, I guess. And it's a business, it's not a charity. But
no, but it's still nice that you're using that experience to help others. What do you think now when you see like the London Marathon, 40,000 runners, and runners like me that do over 5 hours, the fun runners, so to speak?
Yeah, I love the fun runners. Actually, I ran a few years ago at London Marathon. I ran with the fun runners, and I started in with the rhinos. We were right at the back of one of the starts, and it was a really different experience. And it was quite magical, to see all the kind of staggered starts, and the fact that actually I could have gone to the toilet once the gun had started, because still had 25 minutes stood on the start line, and I was still trying to prepare like an elite athlete and go to the loo before the gun had gone off and everything. So I think running is an amazing sport, and I think it can give so much to anyone that does it. So I think, for me now, it's great for my mental health, and it's great for making me feel better about myself. I think it helps me to be a more patient mother and wife. And I just think it gives so much to my life, and that I want others to enjoy that as well. And you don't necessarily have to chase times. I mean, lots of people are very motivated by running as fast as they can, and that's absolutely fantastic. But some people just want to be able to enjoy running for getting out in the great outdoors and exploring. Other people just want to be able to be fit enough to chase their own children around or their own grandchildren around. And I think, you can tap into running and make it as challenging as you want to. So I think it's such an accessible sport. All you need really is a decent pair of trainers, and you can run. And that's what I've loved about running, is you can go anywhere around the world with your shoes, and you can put them on even if it's down Beijing High Street. You can still get out for a run. So and it's been done. So yeah, it's
not many can say that, but
brilliant.
Yes, rub it in, Liz, rub it in.
So I love running. I love sport. I think it's a fantastic thing for everyone to get involved with, and I think finding something that you enjoy doing is can only add to your life.
So what's your advice to anyone listening that thinks, hang on, I could be in with a chance here, to get them thinking to the next level?
I think it depends, if you just want to get involved in running. I mean, just, the Couch to 5K is a fantastic getting you out there and easing you into it carefully. I think if you want to change your running up and, challenge yourself a bit more, it might be that you go to a local running club and join a coach or a group of runners. If you're already in a group of runners and you want more, it might be that you then reach out to a more personalised coach with more guidance, training. So there's various levels at which you can kind of challenge yourself with that, but there's so much out there as well now. So yeah, I think you need to think what you want from your running and go get it.
That was incredible. My first Olympian on the Running Tales podcast. What a fantastic moment. From not even making it to the start of her first race to celebrating Dame Kelly Holmes' double Olympic gold and reaching the podium at the Commonwealth Games. What an incredible career Liz Yelling had. I'd love to hear what you thought of our chat, so do let me know via Facebook on our page Step Forward with Lewis or Twitter at Forward with Lewis. I'll be back another Running Tales next week, but in the meantime, if you can leave a review or rating on whatever podcast provider you listen to, I'll be grateful.